Finance and Facilities meeting to order, February 3rd, 2026. I think committee members are here. So we'll turn this over to Mr. Nathan for the district audit.
Good evening. So
Somebody, you're welcome to stay up there.
Oh, no, I can see.
You can't hear very well, Beth.
I heard fine, Keith.
What?
Sorry. My doctor says people of a certain age.
all right, our key findings that I wanted to highlight is that in May, when the budget adjustments came through to be approved before the end of the fiscal year, the outlook was that the district was going to be short about $1 million. And then the audit showed that the district underspent $2.68 million. So those funds, go from Fund 10, and they stay in Fund 10. They just go into fund balance, or what's called the general fund balance. The decreases of other fund balances included money spent to pay for food services deficit, operating deficit, and then funds that were spent from the Fund 46 long-term capital plan. And then there was an increase in the Fund 21, the special revenue trust fund balance. So that was the auditors focus on, they look at Fund 10 on its own, and then everything else all together is Fund 10. It's the majority of everything. It's so big. So the corrective actions that I'm responsible for, one of the key findings going back several years is to get reconciliations taken care of. We've been working with CISA-5 to get all of those things in order. I have a meeting Thursday. We have we have the journal entries. We've found everything that was hanging out there as a team. And we will be reconciled through December as of Thursday when I go into Skyward and finish up those items. And then we will start the process for reconciling. January, a lot easier when you're starting from zero and looking at reconciling a month versus looking back over 6 months and trying to get everything taken care of. So that's a corrective action. The auditors had to offer more than a usual number or an expected number of journal entries to get everything trued up inside of Skyward at the end of the year. So by doing the reconciliations, the bank reconciliations every month, their belief is by doing that, we're going to be able to significantly decrease the number of journal entries that the auditors are going to offer, or not offer, but tell us to make at the end of the year. And then the other one is the district will meet reporting deadlines. The auditor report was late to DPI, and that drug on until early December. So that is another thing I'm responsible for, is making sure all of our reports, our financial reports, are into DPI on time. So those are things that Lee's going to hold me accountable for. That are the main corrective actions found in the audit.
Do you need a motion pending approval of this with your reconciliation acts? Or can we just make this a motion to approve your audit report, knowing that this is going to happen? Does that have to be split into a motion that we're making a motion to approve pending the action on the reconciliations, or?
Well, you don't have to do any action on the reconciliations. I'm just telling you that
okay.
That's the work that we've done to this point to address the first corrective action that I called out.
Okay. So I need a motion to accept the auditor's report presented by Nate.
So moved.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
You have questions? Do you want to ask them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Oh, okay. Let me get back to them. So, so it looks like we had about a 950,000 variance from state and federal sources.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I looked at we were looking at the trial balance after you asked your question, about that, you know, and it comes down to better forecasting, it comes down to, you know, better, projections. Just an example of one of the items that was, budgeted for, was significantly over budgeted for, is, Medicare, or Medicaid, sorry, Medicare, reimbursement. It was budgeted for at $975,000 and it actually came in at like $450,000. So there's a really big chunks, and that was in Fund 10, and then there was another one, it was almost 100 grand, over as well in Medicaid, hoping for more money than came in. So those were two of the biggest items that popped when we took a look at the trial balance from last year that were off. And that was one of the things Rob, our accountant, said that he and Ken worked on together, is to get, you know, the revenues in line with what reality is.
are we seeing that there might be, is there any way that we can better predict what we're gonna get overall? Or is this
Oh, yeah.
ongoing
No.
flux of our?
Well, we just need to look at the past and see what, you know, what we've gotten in the past. I mean, $975,000 is totally out of line with what has happened in the past. So it's just making sure that we're looking back and seeing what's come in, knowing what's going on with federal funding, with state funding, and applying the appropriate percentage increase or decrease based on what's coming. I mean, it doesn't, we certainly don't need to be flying blind completely on a number like that. That's something that the staff that finished the year up last year in 24-25 addressed.
So I
You
think-
did, any other questions? Just
Yeah, I had a few, I'm just looking at the email that I had sent. That declining trend in the pension liability ratio, page 52,
Sure, so.
970. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Sure.
How does it impact our overall funding level of our
I had to.
pensions?
I had to admit that I had to do a double take because it reads right to left versus left to right. So like 2025 is on the far left, because when we were talking about it this week, I'm like, well, what are you talking about? It's not going down, it's going up. And he's like,
Going down.
and I'm like, oh, okay. So I mean, you know, and even like looking towards the bottom there, the payments that we made. So this year we made a $29,000 payment into those pension liabilities versus a couple of years ago we were doing $270,000. So there's, you know, people are moving into Medicare, younger staff overall. So, you know, you're not as many people are eligible yet. You know, and specifically with like, you know, the administrative staff, one of the OPEB benefits, there is one administrator in the district that's been here at least 10 years and is nearing retirement age that would fit into one of those post-benefit employment perks. So there's just fewer people. Yeah.
Yeah, and years ago, the district put a price point on what people would pay for their health insurance if they were going to use the district insurance. And what has occurred over time is that the market itself is better than this. Therefore, over time, our liability for the health insurance benefit that we have provided has decreased. Because I want to say last year, and don't quote me on this, but like there's literally like 12 or 20 people that have it.
29,000.
So you're getting, it's lowered over time because of the way the language was in there. It became degraded over time what it was worth. Therefore, it is better for people to go out on their own and get insurance off the market. So that's why you see that has declined over time.
Way cheaper.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that was a fun one to dig in on.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the auditor's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Common school funds?
All right. Another happy problem like we had last month.
Yeah, that's nice.
Funds coming in, so we can increase revenue. So, came in at, the state allocation came in $47,650 higher than we budgeted for, so there's going to be that additional revenue. So we're just asking to pass this on to the full board for approval so we can increase, the expenses as well for common school funds.
I make a motion to do that.
The exceptions.
The common school funds and spend it.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. I need a second. Thank you, Ann. All those in favor of taking this to the board for approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Summer school projects, Mr. Michael.
You have the changes on the, okay. So we just went down and just relooked at some of the projects that we'd like to go after and working with Mike Hacker on this also. So the reds are the changes to what my original report was months ago. And I guess I'm just gonna say any questions on it.
Explain the difference, Mike, if you would, between Michael Hacker's budget and the February, where your role and responsibilities will be in this versus Mike Hacker's role and responsibility in this, especially as we move forward with the projects with the consolidation.
Okay. I had a meeting this morning with Mike Hacker and about 9 contractors who are looking at giving us a proposal for the project manager position. And Mike's message to them, he said, this is just going to be a messy project because we're still not clear on exactly what we're doing. I think yesterday or the day before, Lee and I were over at Washington and still trying to determine which projects have to happen over there. So it is really hard to lock down. And meeting with the contractors this morning, I wasn't able to give them a definitive answer on this is exactly what we're doing. It's not that we're early in the process. It's good that Mike set this all up, but we still aren't quite sure as far as consolidation and that stuff. And there's a few other factors working with Stengel and that stuff when we can get in there and start working. I'd like to do as much of this as possible like I did last year. And it will significantly save the district a lot of money. And, but I just can't hone in on it exactly yet because we don't have several answers as far as, if we can get into Stengel early, I'd like to have Stengel done before this school year is out, which would get a lot off of our plate. And
Okay,
your question, go ahead.
well, anybody else have questions? Yeah, Ann.
Thank you for answering my email. I still have one question on that fire alarm system. My second question is, okay, now you said the city you said we had to do it. My next question was, what is the extent of condition? Is the same thing gonna pop up at other schools?
No, we had this situation at some of the other schools, and Nate Keener, our electrician, worked with OMW, whoever takes care of our fire alarm systems. And we needed to upgrade in several areas, and usually for like $5,000 or so, Nate was able to upgrade some tools or get the technology set up in that. Riverview is so old, it's not communicating well with the fire department, all of that sort of thing. So he called in that OMC, I'll call it the company. And originally they bid, let's put in a new system for $100,000. And that would revamp the entire system. But we also had to get in the building inspector from the city of Manitowoc in, and he looked at it and said, no, we have to complete, this is not a remodel. It has to be considered brand-new system, which means we have to go to the state with state-approved plans and everything. That takes it up to $200,000. We have one guy that went out of the valley that just came over 2 weeks ago just to introduce himself to me and that stuff. So we're gonna get a bid from him also. But that system needs to be upgraded. And we will not have a problem with the other schools because he's touched on them.
One of the things I think that's important that you mentioned is you would like to have as much input as possible, because I think when we do this RFP, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lee and Mike, when we do this proposal and this manager comes in, I think one of the most important things that we can, as a board, can do is assure the public that Mike gives every opportunity to our local vendors get those jobs as much as possible, where he's gonna have the knowledge of what's out there and available in this county and district versus manager that comes from someplace else. So I think it's important that that line of distinction is there, and it's good that you guys come up with this line that's gonna give you control over some projects and this manager control of projects as well. So
That
talk
was-
about that for a minute.
Stated very clearly this morning with the contractors that we were talking to, that as much as possible, we want to stay local and take care of our vendors there. So whoever would get this project from us, they are aware of that, and they also know that we are going to try to do as much as we can ourselves here. And again, Mike mentioned the word messy, but he said that's the way it is with other school districts also. We've got a lot of things floating out here, but we just want to use those referendum dollars as efficiently as possible and stretch it as far as we can.
This does not need action. This is just update. Any other questions on the proposed projects going on for the summer?
And just one last thing on that tuck pointing. You just did a walk around and noticed it isn't as bad as we thought? Okay.
Yes.
I just have a sort of a philosophical question as we look at some of the things, like the tuck pointing, I know this was one of the big, well, it's 2 million, but now it's this, or this didn't exist, but now it does, in the going forward. What is the guiding philosophy behind the decisions that are getting made? So, I mean, I understand the fire alarm thing, but
Right.
it's like,
My philosophy is I try to get these elementary schools that we're keeping, I want to get them in great shape so that they can last a long time. That's my thinking. My thinking on the middle schools is I want them solid for at least 5 years or so until the public has their chance to input. But we'll get them safe. Like Woodrow Wilson was a little bit higher, I think, on that tuck pointing because that chimney blew apart last year. And there are some major areas up on the roof area that nobody sees, but there are gaping holes up there that just it's fall for 5 years. Let's get that filled in. And I know what we did on Lincoln last year on that east side, and that was the worst side. And that was about an $80,000 project. And those guys fixed a lot. We went a long way for 80,000. So that's, yeah.
no.
Any questions from board members, non-committee members? Any questions? Thanks, Mike. Next agenda item, Manitowoc Public School District Standard Operating Procedure. Mr. Tennis, do you want to introduce this? And then after you get going, I'll interject
Sure.
some reasons behind this policy.
Yeah, put this together as a result of some of the conversations that we've had around, finishing up our baseball field project. Over time, if you take a look at the last decade or so, we've experienced more and more interest from community groups that want to invest in what we're doing. They realize that our budgets are tight and that the state funding mechanisms are broken. And so there's extra, efforts made in our community to try to have nice things. And so we're very, very grateful for all of that. And however, we want to make sure that we underscore the need for clear, consistent, and transparent processes that ensure the appropriate district oversight, financial accountability, and the alignment with our long-term facility plans. And quite frankly, as you already know, we could have done a better job. So the goal of this is to create a standard operating procedure in this district that we follow step by step, essentially to ensure that the folks that are involved in the fundraising, the folks that are involved in the decision-making, the folks that are involved in the fixing or doing the projects are all on the same page at all times, and that we don't have work getting authorized that isn't paid for, and that we have the standards that are met and our policies being met as far as the accepting of bids and things that are over $100,000 that we should follow because it's our policy. So what this proposed standard operating procedure does is clearly defines roles and responsibilities for the outside organization, the district administration, and the Board of Education, requires consistent administrative and board oversight throughout the planning and fundraising process. It ensures that no capital improvement work begins without formal board approval. It confirms that all project costs are fully funded through designated district funds, private donations, or a combination thereof. And it protects the district by ensuring all contracts, construction, and financial management remain under district control. Essentially, that was directly from the memo that I provided you for the standard operating procedure. The standard operating procedure, as to walk through it, talks about its purpose, which I already mentioned, the scope of it, meaning it's all of our properties and all of our buildings and grounds, the guiding principles behind it, the definitions of the folks in roles and responsibilities, as well as a required process, taking it step by step through what each process looks like and whose responsibility it is to act and provide the oversight necessary. So again, this is a proposed standard operating procedure that I would recommend the board approve so that in the future, no matter who's doing these projects, we have a system in place that needs to be followed.
So let me back up a little bit in part of that came from my frustration as being chair of the finance committee in working with the baseball complex. And this is not meant to be any way taken on the wrong lane or avenue. Baseball complex is a wonderful project, but I think that conversations and the terminology used in the process, with no direct manager who was doing what, reporting to the board when things were happening, was faulty from the get-go. And so I apologize for that coming from the finance committee, because I wish we would have had a little bit better control or hold on the entire process as happened in the past, but we didn't. And the reason for that is a number of things. Thank you to Lori, the state's finest secretary to a superintendent that there ever can be. She did a great deal of digging for me. And this goes back to the board meeting of November 22nd, 2022. So we've been in the process of this baseball complex for about 6 years, or at least 4 years. And with that meeting, Stacy Soldner was the president and the only acting board member on that committee that was same to us is Carrie Trask. The rest of them was Colin Brunel, Matt Phipps, Stacy Soldner, Matthew Spalding, Tony Belishka, and Kathy Willis. At that time, there was a presentation by a group to support the new baseball field because the city had offered that to the Mantua Public School District. So the city offered the municipal field to the district back again in November 22nd, 2022. There was a lot of discussion that centered around that board about acquiring the property. The board made the motion to acquire that property. And with that discussion, there was a motion that was made by Mr. Phipps to move forward with the acquisition of the property. There is to be a management plan and a timeline put into place by the Director of Buildings and Grounds. At that time was Chris Dupre. So the motion was made and it was passed unanimously that the Buildings and the Grounds and the superintendent and the finance director would set this plan together. Well, that plan, nobody knew what happened to it. There was no committees. It just went into being. There was another movement by the planning committee, the baseball facilities group that presented to the 2023 board. Similar thing, the 2023 board unanimously said, go ahead, do your fundraising. We're all in support of this project. So now we've got two boards. In the whole process of this baseball complex, we've had two superintendents, three boards, and two and a half business managers that Nate picked up the leftover from an interim business manager that helped us get our act together. So during that time, all sorts of conversation was lost. There was no plan of action. There were people doing things, and there was no reporting to the board or a committee because there was no committee. There was no finance committee at that time. So that motion passed. And that motion passed unanimously, saying that we were to take the baseball complex from the city. However, there were some catches to that. We just couldn't take it because there had to be permits signed, there had to be soil samples, there had to be water samples, there had to be DNR reports. That didn't come until 2025, when all of that paperwork was finally done. And we officially acquired the baseball complex. When we officially acquired the baseball complex, there was a motion to the board to give support for additional money to finish the project. That's when board member Mary Lofty-Blahnik made the motion to look and see if we had a fund project 46, to if that money was even, or if that was, the baseball complex was even listed into Fund 46, to use that money to pay off the rest of the debt. Again, we go back to poor terminology used because there were people in the community thought that this board was giving money to the baseball fundraising organization rather than paying our own debt, our own complex. They thought that we were giving money to this fundraising team rather than paying off what we already owned, rather than doing what we already owned. So again, poor communication, misinformation, because we weren't paying anybody. We weren't paying this fundraising organization. They were helping to support the project. That goes along with that motion that Matt Phipps made. The board was going to take responsibility for this and involve fundraising organization. So Nate, in his great research, found this. This is a 57-page document that involved Fund 46, ESSER fund, district monies, the whole bit. This was where they were going to put the money and spend the money. As I said to the superintendent, and I said to another colleague, I don't even know what ESSER funds are, but they were to be used in this. There was money or projects that were put into this from the previous board and superintendent to take care of that baseball field. So I went into here to see what, I went through this to see where this came from. With that board report and with the program that Chris Dupre put together with Mr. File, the municipal baseball was going to replace and remill the blacktop visitors area and bleachers for $75,000. We were going to replace the bleachers at a cost of $63,000. Now, as I said earlier, I'm not sure that $63,000 would replace the bleachers, but that was in this plan. That was the first thing that was put in. My little notes are all these things were I don't know where they're coming from, but it was kind of fun reading. The next thing that was interesting in here is, lo and behold, in the use of Fund 46, we were going to replace the football scoreboard for $150,000. Never heard that before. Don't know where that came from. Here's another major thing that came out of this document that was passed by the board in 6/24. Now, remember, the president back then was just establishing committees. We didn't have committees yet in full grace. So this document was passed by, we don't know who, but it was on record that it was passed. All right, so in that document, the bleachers were to be purchased, and we'll get back to that in a minute. There was going to be a brand new public address system to the tune of $5,000 to $10,000, paid for by the board. There was going to be a new scoreboard between $25,000 and $30,000. There was, the parking lot was going to be redone by $400,000. The fence was going to be repaired, and the fencing repairs would be between $3,000 and $7,000. Also, I found out that by that document that was shared, interestingly enough, the final project, which was called Rubik Baseball, because they didn't know they had a new name, but the artificial turf was to be paid for by the board for $1.5 million. That was to be completed by 2024. Had no idea where that came from. No idea. The scoreboard was going to be upgraded, and that was good, like I said, was going to be a cost of $150,000. So all of this stuff came from the request to see if we actually had a Fund 46, but it was all in here. Fund 46 has $3 million in it. We aren't going to get all these projects because these projects, by this document, are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, okay? So the guess is that this document followed quite closely to Mr. Files' CISA 10's requests that the district was going to use referendum dollars for, all right? So this document really is really not an active thing in my mind, and we'll talk about that later through a motion. But that's, I think, led to the superintendent in his motion for that standard operating procedure, because I apologize. This was not done well. The concept is phenomenal. All accolades to the organization that has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, of which, by this document, we should have bought the turf, not the fundraising organization, okay? So when we look in retrospect of what shoulda, woulda, coulda, the fundraising organization has really saved the district a great deal of money in my thinking. The other thing that I think that is very important to consider is that even though this document cannot be followed, you'll hear a motion coming soon that we need a new document and a new Fund 46 plan based on what the superintendent's recommendation is for that. Does that convoluted history lesson make sense? Because that's where we got to this point. That's where the language was all screwed up. The concept of what the project was different between everybody that we talked to. The project to me was one thing, the project to Mr. Abel was another thing, the project to the community was another thing, and there was no single organization to pull all these things together. So that's what we're attempting to do today. Any questions? Comments, Biff?
Thank you for that. I think the most important thing that we have to understand here is there was no formal way for a group like the one that's coming in and raises money, or the group that got together and raised the money to remodel JFK. or the group that got together to do Rubik Field, there was never a formal policy on how to work with the district to do that. And I applaud you guys, as they say, for bringing those concerns up during this discussion we've had. And a lot of those thoughts about how are we supposed to do this? Groups are coming in and they're raising substantial amounts of money, and we don't have an organized way to accept that money and an organized way to work with these people and an organized way to do these projects. Part of that is because, way back, we didn't have to do these projects. City controlled the school district and gave us what they figured we needed because it was city had to approve our budgets. That's how JFK got built. Rubik Field, the district put a lot of money into that project to finish it after a group came forward and said, we have to fix this field after the city of Manitowoc gave us that field. At one time, the city had a semi-pro team and they had to keep that field up. Well, when that team left, the city put less money into the stadium and then turned it over to the district. And we raised money. A group came forward and said, we want turf. The turf has worked out fine, but it costs money. And then to finish that project, the school district had to put new bleachers in for the visitors because there were no railings and the bleachers are in bad shape, and that's state law. You've got to have railings on bleachers now so people can get up and down. But they did that. Small project at JFK was $750,000, so there wasn't the concern of raising that much money. The group did that, and then they remodeled the inside of that place. We are now in that situation where we did not have a baseball field, and the baseball field that was gifted to us needed a lot of work. So in my head, and after listening to that, I think if we had to do this project all by ourselves, if the city had not given us a space to do this, if the city had not provided what they provided at Municipal Baseball Field, we would have to go out and buy land. We'd have to go out and fix it. If we did the minimum of a stadium, it would probably cost us 1.4, 1.5 million to have a minimum facility for our kids to play. I believe we're going to get more than that with this project. As we can already see, it's a very nice project from what it looks like now. However, through this process, we've learned we got to find a better way to work with these groups and individuals that are willing to come forward and say, hey, we're going to do a fundraiser so our kids can have something a little nicer than just the basic. And that's not just going to be for a baseball field. That may come in the future to redo other facilities. It may come in the future to redo a theater in a school. There are other ways that people may step forward with fundraisers to help this district give kids something a little nicer than just the middle. But we have to have a policy like this that says, this is how we're going to work with them so we don't have these issues that we had. And yeah, it's been kind of upsetting for some of us during this process, but this board, I think, with the help of the staff here, is straightening this out and will come up with a policy to make this run easier. Will that new policy be perfect? No. I'm sure down the road, the next boards will have to look at it and maybe tweak it here and there. But it's a start to be able to say, if you want to raise money for the Manitowoc Public School District, we're going to help you do that. But we have to be part of your organization to use that money and start building. So this is a good step forward, and I
Any other questions about the policy? Yes.
Just, what is places like Sheboygan? They have names from all different kinds of groups, Acuity, whatever. There's different names on different buildings there. I mean, do we have to reinvent the wheel? What are they?
I didn't, say that one more time.
Hey, this looks good. First, I want to start out with, I agree with this, and I think it's going to be act in prevention for all the things you just talked about. All the things going.
Okay, so let's take care of this then.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right?
I think one thing that we should make clear is it's not a policy, it's a procedure.
Yeah.
So this is the way that we do things.
Thanks. So we're not referring this back to the policy committee.
No.
This is
No,
going to
it's
be a
just
board
procedure.
procedure.
And it's cut and dried. It's like, you got a great idea, but here's what that's gonna mean for us, and we can't entertain that idea right now. It's like, that's what it means for us, we can do that.
Correct.
So I think this gives
And I
us the
think,
power
too,
that we need to have.
When reading this, we're not gonna give somebody, a group of people in this community, i.e. what we just did, or what a board did, or what a group of people did. You contact RAR West Foundation, you start contacting these people, and they're jumping on the bandwagon. And really, there was no board control.
Step one is us.
It's gotta be us, and it's
Gotta be.
all of these, if we don't okay it, it doesn't start. Which, in reverse, it started with, I don't know if, again, I'm not accusing anybody. This motion, back in 2022, set it in action and said, go ahead and do it. So let's go back to the motion. Is there any other comments or questions about the motion presented by the superintendent? I need a motion to accept in a second, please.
I make a motion to accept the standard operating procedure as presented.
Thank you. I need a second.
Can I make the caveat that,
You can second, then you can ask your question.
okay, second,
Okay, questions?
with the intent to benchmark, to see if there's maybe some things we missed. Opportunities here that we could, and you could always update it. I mean, accept it and then update it.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye, taking this to the full board. Aye, opposed? Thank you. Okay. Next.
Just to answer Ann, your question on those big projects like in Sheboygan, Acuity has been wonderful down there, building gyms and remodeling. I think when an organization like that comes in, there'd probably be one person that would come into the school district and sit down. So I think that part of this policy is going to be, it's a little easier one-on-one. But I think there's ways to look at other districts and see, do they have something?
I think the same thing, like when TR built, there's like little plaques above each room. This room was supplied by whatever industries, whatever, and they bought the desks. But that would be a different thing than this. We'd be,
At least we have some control there, so.
What was the question? Are there gonna be plaques or what for?
like, she was asking about like Acuities.
Just looking at other districts to see what they've done in similar situations.
I think that I know for a fact that every buddy that has donated will be on a wall, and I think all of the major donors, if you look at the field, if you've never seen the field, you'll see Vinton's down there, WPS is down there, you're gonna see Novak Station down there, you're gonna see H&H Contract on the field. Then on the back, which we'll talk about in a minute, are signs that'll go along that fence line to the tune of $25,000 a piece that are supposedly, or I sold, will be ready to go in June of '26. But everybody that has donated, there will be recognition, as Ann said. We did not have a major one like Acuity that comes in and says, here's $500,000, put my name on it. But there's been a lot of that. Yes, Mary?
I don't think that's what Ann is asking.
No. I was asking, have we benchmarked other districts to see what best practices they have used
These are the
in
best
doing these
practices.
kinds of things?
Yes, these are the best practices in the standard operating procedure.
No, just how do we adopt the same policies, procedure?
That's what we're doing. These are a culmination of other districts' policies that fit this situation. It comes down to communication, organization, and oversight. And quite frankly, Keith already talked about all of that. So, how do we make sure the communication, oversight, planning happens where it needs to happen? Which is right here. As far as authority given to move forward with things. And that's just frankly what didn't happen. So that's what has to be fixed. And this will fix that. All we have to do is follow it.
Well, and it also resolves the problem of any board appearing to give tacit approval to something, and a group goes away and goes, okay, everything's approved. Well, when the process says, we say yes, here's what happens next. Now you know what happens next. You don't just go along happy as a lark. Well, they said yes, so now we're gonna do these things that are in our vision. And that's, you know.
Yeah, the less things that are subject to interpretation, the better.
And I think which goes into the next two agenda items, when we start advertising or we start indicating to such phenomenal charity organizations, and they're giving money to us as a district in full support of a program, it's a little embarrassing when they say, well, what's going on? And I'm like, I didn't know that all this was under the belt because it happened, again, 2 boards ago. This, I think, will stop, this policy will stop all of that from ever happening again. Any other questions?
I'm gonna excuse myself. I have to go watch a different animal.
Yeah, thank you.
Basketball.
Okay, we're on to the baseball project update. Nathan?
Right, the next 3 proposals, they have the same closing paragraph, so I'm gonna go over that part first. To apply to all of these different proposals about costs associated with the baseball field, it is my recommendation, after consulting with Lee, to spend down fund balance. So we did not know in November that we underspent by $2.68 million, but we know that now. So that money went into the general fund balance. And my proposals are all for the dollar amounts, and we'll go one at a time, to draw off of the general fund balance to pay these bills off, for what's approved. So our first one just talks about, these are the bills that have been paid to date. There is a deficit of $341,547.19. That is paying off all the bills for all the work that has been done. So that's the first proposal. This is adding expense but not adding revenue. When you add expense but not add revenue, then it automatically just comes out of that general fund balance at the end of the year and is applied towards that. So that's my proposal, to address the bills that have already been paid for work that's already been done, at the baseball field. And then the next 2 are projects that have not started, they have not been approved. If you guys so choose to move these to the board, the full board, then that decision will be made there next week.
While we're taking a look at that, and while Nathan's in the seat to answer questions, I would like to pull number 7, the bleacher field off, and I don't know, Nathan, I think that's in your total figures, but the bleachers is a school district responsibility, ADA compliance. As soon as the school district said yes to us taking that field from the city, those bleachers were our responsibility. They're not the responsibility of a fundraising organization to pay for those bleachers. Those bleachers are ours, just like municipal field. As soon as we took the bleacher or that municipal field, those bleachers for us to repair is a district. It's not part of a responsibility of a fundraiser organization to take care of our automatic ADA compliances. So yes, it has to be paid, and yes, it's part of that's coming out of what Nate is talking about. But it is not a fundraising organization's responsibility. That's our obligation. Once we said, yes, we will take that field, all those upgrades are our responsibility. Much like the board said in 2022, they were told all of the things that were going to have to be repaired, and they said, yep, we know it, we still want it. When we took full control of that field when all the permits were done, we should have ripped those bleachers out of there. Because I don't know if you've ever seen them or not, but they're not ADA compliant. There's no guardrails on them. There was no backing to them. They were open bleachers, and we should have ripped them out of there or told everybody to bring lawn chairs. Mike, whatever you need to add to that. But we should not have allowed anybody on those bleachers once we said, it's ours. Lee, and
Well, they definitely weren't in compliance.
No.
That's accurate.
so that one, whatever comes out of that money that we get for the bids for those bleachers is not an obligation of a fundraising organization. It's it's just like every other field that we inherit. If something goes wrong with the JFK bleachers, we don't say to the volleyball and the basketball team, go raise money for those bleachers. It's our responsibility. So that cannot be figured in on that baseball money. Okay?
But let's look at the memo and let's, act or not act, or approve or not approve, what's in front of us right now, which is the $341,000 deficit for the work done. And then we can move on to the next one and approve or not approve.
Does that include those bleachers in there?
Well, this is just the bills paid to date.
Okay.
All the work that's been done. Yeah, that doesn't include, that's why, I broke all of these up just so we could see things very clearly for each step in these, these three different options. When I put it all together, it kind of looked convoluted. So that's why they are broken up into three different motions.
So you're asking for that interest-free loan that we were talking about before, because it looks like we still have pledges coming in,
Yeah.
and 144,000 of those are spoken for out of this. So it's really a net of 197,000.
That'll come over 5 years, but like right now, the bills are the bills and the money's the money. That other money will come, but like I have to go off of like what the bills were right now.
Intended motion.
So now, we had done a motion before that said we would approve up to X number of dollars. Is this just the refinement of that? I would see it that way.
Yes,
I
do too.
Yeah, I think when Lee and I talked this over, like
We're getting the details we asked for.
yeah.
But wasn't that out of Fund 46?
Oh, that might have been.
The original motion was,
Fund 46,
Nathan's coming in now and saying,
Fund 10.
he's not recommending Fund 46 for,
Okay, so that,
he's saying essentially, we underspent
okay,
last year. That money is in fund balance, the 2.6 million. What we have to cover here is this. He's recommending that it be taken out of there in this particular recommendation,
Ones that we didn't
To
do.
answer your question, Mary,
as opposed to 46.
and to answer your question, by my guru friend here, I can't pull that motion because it was made at a board. So I have to go back to the board to pull that motion off from 46 because it's a moot point at this point because we have a new motion to take it out of.
okay.
Right, that's answering his question.
Yeah, that was my question. Yeah,
I look at it the same way.
okay.
And is the reimbursement from the
Yes.
fundraising, how is that impacted? Are we okay there because now it's a different fund?
Oh, well, it's all, when the donations come in, that we can't put it back into Fund 10, but it goes into Fund 49 and then can get spent on other building projects around the district.
Here's a update just as of yesterday. The naming rights to the concession stand, there are two outstanding companies that are looking at that to a tune of $150,000. Kohler just donated, they will donate all the fixtures to the concession stand as a donation. But they can't give us a quote yet because we haven't acted on completing the concession stand. So they're waiting on that, but Kohler has donated that. There's $300,000 that is currently being pledged over a period of time, according to what Bruce and Andy said, probably over a 2-year period. So there's $300,000 that has been pledged to answer your money that would come back in, that would repay the fund that we would pay off.
Is that in addition to this?
That's, that stuff that's not on there yet.
Yeah.
This is in addition to this 144,000?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Mike has saved the districts by all calculations up to $25,000 because he's done a great deal of working with contractors and working on the concession stand to a point right now. It's at a standstill. It hasn't gone anyplace. But thanks for him and on his work and in-house work on that. Benton has given a $65,000 gift off their costs. So the monies are coming in, but as we've talked about before, it may not happen all in 26, 27, but the avenues are there for the fundraising by the baseball organization and the team to continue pay off that, what we pay off in the district. David?
So we're looking for a motion for the 341,000. I make a motion that we spend from Fund 10 a total of $341,000 or $341,547.19 to pay off expenses incurred to this point.
Need a second?
Can we make an addition to that? That gets reimbursed for anything else?
You can add that in there.
Baseball,
You can add that.
every
If
fundraising
you
dollar?
accept that as an amended motion? Motion and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, the next up, bleachers, the number that I put in the report, I'm gonna yield to Mike. He's got some fantastic news about the bids that will be brought next week, to the full board. So I'll let Mike take it away in terms of like what budget number we're looking at now.
We looked at a couple more companies to give us bids, and actually, this company was from down in Texas, and I'm like, well, this isn't gonna come in very, very nicely, but anyway, their bid came in almost half. So I called the company, and I'm like, are you both sets of bleachers here or what? And then the guy I was talking to was in Milwaukee. He said they're the oldest and the largest bleacher company in the nation. And he said, yeah, we just finished your bleachers over at Rubick Field on the visitors side. And that was before COVID. So then I became very comfortable with them. I'm like, this is a real company. So anyway, it's
Bleachers are us.
so
So what did theirs come
bleachers.
in? And it just,
$97,000.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then, the proposal, same thing, pulling out of general fund balance to pay for bleachers.
I would say, let's bring this to the board because you'll have an exact figure for us rather than making a motion to accept the 147. You'll have a motion for us.
Well, 194.
194.
94, you'll have a motion, or you'll have an exact figure for us at the board meeting?
Yeah.
He has it now.
Oh, you have it now?
I just want to verify
Okay.
the details.
That's what I meant. That's
Oh,
what I meant.
Specs, yeah, to make
The specs
sure
to
we're
make sure
getting
they
two
match.
sets. And
Yep.
So let's not take action on that without an exact figure, and we can do that motion on the board. Is that agreed with you guys? I
So
think
hold off on action, but bring it forward to the board agenda.
Correct.
Okay, as new business.
Can they do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'd rather you have the real number.
I would too.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, concession stand. That comes with a small spreadsheet of the items that go into that 147,200, and again, drawing off of the general fund balance to
You
pay.
said here Kohler is gonna be doing fixtures, does that come off the plumbing bill?
That would come off the plumbing bill.
You know, I mean, maybe like one of the nice things what we could do is say, approve up to, and then we report back out to you all at a future board meeting where that actually came in at.
And some of that may be coming back from like the naming rights.
Yeah, so there's some sponsorship donations that are out there right now, conversations that are happening, real conversations that are happening. So, we do anticipate something coming in on that. Not sure of the amount, not sure
Right.
100% if it's split between some or if it's gonna be one person taking it on. But there's definitely, we expect revenue to come in on a
The
donation.
anticipation is up to close to $150,000 for that naming rights.
Which covered the cost.
Correct.
Wonderful.
That's left, yes.
Okay.
But again, to go back to what the motion and the amendment was, is it's gonna get paid back to us.
Yes,
The bund-
same motion, same amendment.
Either way, yeah, absolutely. I need a motion to approve that, and a second, please.
Make a motion to complete the concession stand using Fund 10 with the stipulation that it gets reimbursed from fundraising.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed?
I just ask a question quick. Would the board like an update on fundraising quarterly? Biannually? Like what,
Well, this is gonna be done this summer, right? So we're.
I think, yeah.
Sure, but I'm just saying like when the money like come, like, you know, it's gonna take
To let you know what's.
pledges.
Oh, quarterly after that.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
After completion of the
I
project.
just wanna make sure that I'm on top of like
Lori has a
communicating
question.
out.
Sorry.
And the other thing, I'm sorry.
I apologize, I don't mean to like that, but regarding the bleachers, we're moving it forward to the full board until we have an exact cost, but who made the motion and who seconded it?
There was no
none.
motion.
It's just gonna go,
Do I need a
We'll put it-
motion for that?
No,
no?
you can just put it under new business.
Okay,
It
got
just
it.
didn't get acted on.
Okay, I'll just make a note that it's moving, okay, thank you.
You had something else, Keith?
Pardon me?
You had something else?
Oh, I guess not. I'm not quite sure. No, I do not. All right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Long-term capital planning.
Right. So, Keith talked about, you know, the treasures that he found in the report. You know, I mean,
So this was the link I couldn't open.
exactly, yes. This is the link, and I'll make sure everybody has a, if you don't, that doesn't have a hard copy right now, has a hard copy for next week. You know, but it's more of like, sort of like a prop saying, okay, well, like, there's a lot in here, way more than, you know, our funds that we have in Fund 46, or even the money that we have from the referendum. So when everything's on the plan, in a plan, nothing's on the plan, because it's just big. So my plan is to come back after getting feedback from the administrative team and bringing back a list of 20 projects for the board to approve as the updated or new, whatever, reboot of the long-term capital improvement plan. So then it's just, you know, it's all on one spreadsheet. You know, we can print it off and look at it and knock things out as they come up. And as we're planning toward, as we look at the 26, 27 budget, we can look at the things on those lists and plan to, you know, if we plan to start spending the 3 million in Fund 46 on those projects that we decide to move forward with in an updated long-term capital improvement plan.
Any questions for Nate? Because I'll tell you what I have in mind, and this may be the right place. You know, I'm going to either do it now or I'm going to do it at the general meeting. we have a fluid document here that is supposed to be like a Fund 45, 46, that's never been approved by this board. So after talking with my mentor here and guru for Robert's Rules of Orders, I'd like to make a motion at this meeting to freeze this document. This document no longer is active, even though it's been acted upon and agreed by a past board. There's been no real reconciliation that anybody else has seen this. It's out there, it is in there, it has merit by two boards, but not this board. So I'd like to make a motion to freeze this acting Fund 46 document in lieu of, or in getting ready to prepare for a new document presented to this board.
Mr.
That's
Shaw,
my
would you
motion.
be willing to use the term rescind instead of freeze?
Sure.
Because I think it's probably more appropriate in this case.
I will do that. Rescind this document.
Yeah.
Question
Exactly.
with that.
Pardon
Because
me?
it looks like, I mean, it looks like a Christmas list plus CISA 10 plus everything, just.
We're really
pie in the
unsure.
sky.
We're really unsure.
So there are some merits to some of the things that are in here.
Of course.
There were, because some of them are CISA 10. So I just want to make sure we don't, we kind of do a gut check, cross-reference. and
We're
say,
not throwing it out. We'll use it as a reference point, but the bottom line is it was designed for Fund 46. And in its 57 pages and tens of millions of dollars, we remind the board that we have $3 billion in Fund 46. It was never a legitimate plan for what it was intended for. So we believe in doing things the right way. So that's why I think Mr. Melky's suggestion is, hey, this is only as good as the paper it's printed on. So let's actually have a plan for the Fund 46 dollars to use in a strategic way that helps bring us forward on our capital improvement projects. And let's do that through this process.
And
When
I
we
think-
bring it back to the committee, have them review it, approve it, and then we will feel really good about the fact that we have a document that actually means something as it relates to how we're gonna spend the money in that, Fund 46. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, and like, have it to be, get it down to a point where it can be like an elevator pitch about the things that we're doing with the long-term plan, how we're spending Fund 46 dollars, where you're gonna, I'm gonna be able to say, these are the top 5 things on the list of 20, and these are,
But I think, but you're recognizing that the board, through the committee, would come up with, as you said, maybe a list of 10 or 15 things that are very, very important. We can use this as a tool, but to look at, and then as these things are approved by the board and they are accomplished, scratch and add, scratch and add. It's a continued document that would go through committee to the board.
yeah, absolutely.
So I guess the way I envision this is to what Mr. Schwartz has been doing with the capital funds, but can we keep that historical document to say this is what we did? And then we can use it to build on for the next
It
3,
will
5,
always
10,
be there.
15.
It'd be like a fluid document, ongoing all the time.
It was approved at one point, so it's archived in our minutes, it's archived in.
My Google Drive.
Yep, so it's always part of it. We'll always have it.
Yeah.
By rescinding it, it just means that we are now not recognizing this as a working document associated with the plans to spend money on that fund.
So I made the motion to rescind this document. I need a second on that motion. All right, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, this goes to the board. Now I need a motion to accept Mr. Milky's proposal. Is that correct? You want a motion?
Yeah, I don't, it was more like informational, just to say like,
When he
hey,
brings it-
hey, we're gonna work.
Did we accomplish the same thing by rescinding this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Did you vote on that? And I missed it?
We did vote it. and it was-
Oh, I just missed it.
Okay. Thanks, you guys.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Tremendous meeting. Thanks, you guys. And again, just, these meetings I think are going to get. And next month, we start with the proposals and we start looking at managers that are gonna get involved. And with a lot of information coming in. So thank you for attending. You're all welcome to attend. I love the dialogue. Thank you.